There are 2 seats up front to my right, your left. If you're looking for a seat, we'll also hit up CRC to see if we can pull some more chairs out. Mike. You just go out. First door, right? Okay. Thank you. I apologize, we have no control over the thermostat. I also would like to be.
Good, how are you?
All right, everybody, thank you for being here this evening. We've had a busy last month or so in Pleasant Ridge with so much going on. We had we got some tangible action taking place in each of our meetings, both last month. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
How you doing? My name's Captain Herbert with Engine 8, Cincinnati Fire Department.
Nate.
Sorry?
The fight Nate.
Yeah. We don't have nothing normal besides we're finishing up fall service for our hydrants, so you'll still notice Cincinnati Fire Department website. If you need assistance with that, we offer a program. We'll come out, help you install them. If you meet certain requirements, we'll also supply them for you. I don't know all those requirements, it's all on the website. But also, I'm here to also talk about 5601 Montgomery Road. Some of you guys may have heard there was kind of a party there about 2 weeks ago on a Friday night. It was extremely overcrowded, major fire hazard. The police were there, we got called to help assist with the evacuate the building. Basically, 5601 Montgomery Road is classified by the department as a vacant building. We've classified a vacant building since October of 2015. There's a business there that's trying to make it an event center, a hall, but they need to go through all the right processes and they haven't been. So they've been ordered for 10 years now to be vacant, but they're not. So it's a building department issue. Unfortunately, the fire department and the police department get involved in this stuff. So we did a fire inspection. We usually don't do those for vacant buildings. It's a vacant building, we don't do anything with those. We just identify it's vacant, and it's supposed to stay that way. So we did do a fire inspection. It did not pass one single fire code. So they have a lot of work to do if they want to make a new event space. It's possible they're going to have to just go through all the right procedures with the building department and make all that. So hopefully we won't see any more activity going on in there. There is an office building with apartments. That building's okay. But the way it's zoned, it's one parcel. So they can't have anything in the event center, which is the building to the right if you're looking at. So, but other than that, that's all I have to report. Do you guys have any questions about anything? Yes, ma'am. We don't. So you can just look up a company and test them. They'll come out and test them. A lot of times for like just a residential fire extinguisher you have in your house, it's a cheaper option is for you just to buy a new one. Unless you have multiple ones or big ones, like for them to come out and service it for you, if it's even serviceable, probably costs more than the extinguisher itself. So what we tell people to do is that when you buy it, take the receipt, tape it to it. If you have to have it for some reason, if it's a group home or some reason we have to come to inspect it, if you have the receipt taped to it, we can see when it was purchased and how old it is, and then we'll know it's good. So, yes, ma'am. For the expired ones, that's a great question. We get that call all the time, and I don't know a good answer. If you discharge them, what's the answer? What do you got, man? Okay. I know a couple times a year the county will put on like a recyclable thing, or unwaste stuff you can't get rid of in your normal trash can down, and it's usually down Spring Grove, where they'll have areas out you can take and stuff. But if you were to discharge it somehow, you're gonna get all that stuff everywhere, and then take the cap off it. It's just a piece of metal then. So So if you have an empty one, you can unscrew the top, then it's just trash. So, yes.
I just want to make sure people know that we have a new ordinance that goes with that in January for vacant buildings. And so, this is a little bit example of why we need to inspect them. So they'll be inspected twice a year, every 6 months, and the fee for vacant buildings is actually increased because we kind of incentivize doing something with the fires. So we're also looking, and this hasn't been put in place yet, but we're looking for ways to get resources to go, Cincinnati, who owns vacant buildings, to renovate them and make them usable, hopefully housing. But that's not in place yet, but we're talking about it. Right now, they have to be inspected twice a year, inside and the exterior. I think it's like, 10, every month, for about 10 months, or probably 2 months a year, that they don't have to be inspected. But the idea is not to leave, we do have more than 5,000 vacant buildings in Cincinnati, so we've got to inspect them.
Yeah, for a person to renovate a vacant building, they have to apply for a license, get that, and then that is also starts a permit process and inspection process for them. So that's where that building's at right now, 5601. They're waiting to apply for a vacant building license, and then they can proceed with making renovations. But a lot of this falls in the building department, which is not, I just know from personal experiences dealing with them, so, but, a lot of that I don't understand, so that's all for them. Any other questions? Alright.
Thank you so much for being here. Officer Martin, you're next. I will ask that anybody who is presenting to please step to the microphone so that people online can hear what you're saying. I know that microphones scare some people, they used to scare me, but we just want to make sure everybody is included.
Hi everyone, yes, this microphone does scare me. I don't like talking to the microphone, but hey, for those of you guys who don't know me, I am the neighborhood liaison officer for Pleasant Ridge, Officer Martin. I just want to say, as far as the crime stats, we are actually looking good. Crime is down, but we are still getting individuals leaving key fobs in their vehicles, unlocked vehicles. They're leaving firearms in unlocked vehicles on the seat. They're leaving purses, wallets, things of that nature. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. And then we won't have any crime stats. Let's not do that. But we're still doing that. So let's not do that. Also, it's the holiday season, so that should make everybody more aware, be more vigilant about like leaving lights on, having your neighbor call you if they hear any noise. Call us. It's not bothering us. That's how that makes us aware of what's going on in your neighborhood. Strange people that normally don't come on your street, that walk up and down your street, and they're on your street for 10 minutes looking around, that's a clue, that's a sign. We need you guys to call us. Not on Facebook amongst each other, because I hear it all the time, like, you didn't hear about that? They posted on Facebook. No, I didn't. You have to call the police for me to be aware of what's going on. And other than that, I don't have anything else, but I do, we have a new captain, Captain Richardson, and you want to talk, sir?
Good evening. So I've been in District 3 for 2.5 weeks now, and most of the time I'm lost. But I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I really am. I appreciate this opportunity. And I had East Walnut Hills on my calendar tonight. And then the vice mayor called. She said, "Hey, we just had this safety meeting. We're talking about speeding." I said, "No, I'll come to that meeting instead." So, and I prove on management. I'm going to take credit for work that she did 3 weeks ago. Officer Martin got a hold of our traffic unit, the guys on the motorcycles, and she said Pleasant Ridge had some concerns about speeding, so they came out and did a survey on October 21st on the 6300 block of Ridge. So we kind of got a jump on the concerns, and the lieutenant of traffic has promised to send his guys out repeatedly to start writing tickets. And on top of that, I just worked out a deal with my second shift officers today. They're going to field a full-time traffic enforcement car too, both tickets and crashes. So you made it easy, because I got to come and brag, and we were on top of the problem this time. Maybe not other meetings. And I also want to congratulate them on winning. Any questions today? It's nice meeting you. Can I see a hand? No? It's nice meeting you all.
Thank you for that information. Great to meet you as well. All right, we're moving right along. There was one thing triggered. Oh, Facebook. Now the police department and the city both use data to make decisions. So Facebook doesn't work for city data. Actual calls to either 311 Cincy or to the non-emergency line. Those are the things that move City Hall. Is to go about those, take those alleys if you want your voice to be heard. Same with us. We do monitor Facebook to hear what everybody's saying because we want to know, but we're not using that as an official communication strategy at all. It's a lot to manage, and we are volunteers. So if you want to get a hold of us, if you want the community council to hear what you have to say, if you want, I'm assuming the Development Corporation and the Business Association to hear what you have to say, what you want in Pleasant Ridge, please email us. If you have numbers, call, text, that's all fine. Facebook is just not going to be an official way that we take in a lot of input. We do monitor, we care, but that's just not an official communication platform we're using. So we're going to move right along. Next we have CRC. Hey, Kendall. Thank you for getting those chairs, by the way.
How's everyone doing today? Good. My name is Kendall Bobo, one of the community center directors here at Pleasant Ridge Recreation Center. I do not have much to talk about, but if you all would like to rent out one of the rooms, I know the holidays are coming up, you want to have a holiday party, or maybe you want to have a meeting, whatever, you can rent through us. So I'll be available. My business card is out there. You just give me a call. I'll give you more information about that. So that's pretty much all that I have.
Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
As always, we're trying to keep all their events on our website now. They have their own website for any events that they have coming up as well. Do we have anybody here from the library tonight? That's a no. And is Ruth Ann here tonight? All right. And we are making quick work of this. Do we have any of our school liaisons, LSDMC members? You please come to the microphone and let us know which school.
Hi, I'm Jen Fisher. I'm on the LSDMC at PRM, Pleasant Ridge Montessori, our neighborhood public school here in Pleasant Ridge. Updates for LSDMC is we passed the levy. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for everybody who helped with that. We have some new school board members too. Our next meeting for LSDMC is this Wednesday at 3 p.m. in the library. Everyone is always welcome to attend, so if you have questions, you want to learn more, we have some projects coming up that we're going to start to focus on to kind of better serve our students, and we have a win block, which is what stands for What I Need. So I really want to spread the word that every day, 4 days a week at the school, the students are all shuffled around the building to focus into different groups based on what I need. So they're in small groups, and we really need volunteers from the community to come in to work with them on literacy and math skills, which have a huge impact on the testing scores that impact the resources that we get, and the teachers and the staff and everything about our neighborhood school. So please, if you have time in your schedule to volunteer just 30 minutes, 2 to 4 times a week, we would love to have your help. Beyond that, we will be partnering for Thanksgiving boxes, so if anybody needs a meal, or if you know a student or a family within our neighborhood district, reach out, because our resource coordinator will have the ability to help you with food for Thanksgiving, and that goes all year round. So just spread the word that we are a resource for that for any families in our neighborhood. If you want to volunteer for the WIN block, just come talk to me. You can also reach out to the PRM office. They will be eager and happy to have you. There is a training tomorrow at 4:30 with no childcare, but I can help with that because I'm going to bring a babysitter for my kids. So if you want to get trained, there is a training tomorrow at 4:30 at the school. So just show up or call the office. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Very nice. All right, Vice Mayor Kearney, it is your time.
First of all, let me say I'm so impressed that so many people come to these meetings in the evening. Thank you for being here. This is wonderful. Pleasant Ridge is rocking it. Just love it. Okay, so we had our Healthy Neighborhoods Committee meeting here downstairs last week. And for those of you who weren't there, no, I see some familiar faces. I know some of you were there, but for those who weren't there, our Healthy Neighborhoods Committee meets every other week in City Council chambers at 1 p.m. on Tuesdays. But once a month, we come out to a neighborhood, and so we ask all of our community council presidents, do you want us to come out? And it's a chance, one, to highlight your neighborhood, and so we heard about all the good things happening in Pleasant Ridge, really a lot of wonderful things happening, but we also ask, share the challenges, what are some issues we need to address? So we were given some homework. Captain Richardson answered one of those, and that was about Montgomery at the Leicester intersection by Pleasant Ridge, Montessori, and how people are speeding up and down. You know, we've tried switching the timing on the lights. I think speed bumps have been put out there. People are still just, you know, driving like crazy. And so a traffic blitz was something that was brought up. So when I talked to Captain Richardson, he said, I'll be at the meeting, I'll just talk about that. So you'll be hearing more from him about that. The second thing was about this landscaping company, and so the residents of Acom Street were saying how there's a lot of noise, and it also goes on in the evening. People are having a hard time sleeping. So Alex Stanton from my office has been doing a lot of talking about that. So do you want to come up? This is Alex Stanton. So he's been following this whole email chain. He got in touch with, you know, we checked on zoning. Turns out the zoning, actually for that area, you're allowed to do construction storage, right? But there's some issues about the noise. So let me let Alex fill you in on what he's found out.
I talked with the planning department today, and what they told me, I am scared of the what they told me was that the landscaping company is set to move an undetermined date. So they've secured another property, but we don't know when they're moving out. But unfortunately, that's a permitted use is, like she said, landscape storage. But what the planning department, the owner to, it's the landscaping company is on Acom Avenue, which is by the Dolphins. But the zoning department is working with the owner of the property to secure a new tenant who has a smaller company, which will hopefully reduce the impact of the amount of trucks coming in and out, and just a smaller footprint. They also told me that rezoning is something that could be pursued, but it would be pretty difficult because of the fact that the owner doesn't really want to rezone it. So the current occupant of the building isn't the owner, they're the tenant. They're on their way out, but the owner will definitely be looking to fill it with another landscaping company.
We'll give you the whole thing.
But what they also told me was if you are having nighttime issues with noise or anything outside of the noise ordinance, please report it to 311, report it to the police, take video of it. Time-stamped video will be very helpful in building a nuisance case. So that's what I was told.
Thank you for that. So yeah, and that's really the piece we wanted you to understand, that our legal department said get some evidence. So because we've heard that the noise goes on late into the night, sometimes all night long, and I guess the noise is the trucks pulling up on the gravel to load and unload, which they're really not supposed to do. So take a video so that we can hear the noise, document it, say it's 12 o'clock November 5th, and this is what's going on, and also call 311, and then that helps our legal department to build a nuisance case against them. They really just need evidence. Bill Frost had a question.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about this later, but I've got a real issue with businesses deciding whether they like zoning or not. That's what we just went through in that part. That's not the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Zoning is completely, this zoning was changed in 2000. Prior to that, we got through a legal case and a hearing just said that this shouldn't
Yeah.
We like to, and these people we like to, there are health issues, it's more than just noise, it's sitting in the
Right.
It's about health, it's about water pollution, it's going to affect a lot of people. I mean, I know, there's some people who would get come to come because they're sick from the street.
Right.
It's big on noise. And it is, and
Okay.
it's certainly in Pleasant Ridge. We don't want our businesses deciding on our zoning.
Right.
That's not what it's.
Yeah, that's the current process, so I think this will be an issue that we have, that's ongoing. So this is for now, get us the evidence for nuisance. The second thing is they are supposed to move, but the zoning part is important, so we'll have to get more information about that, and maybe even have our legal department come and talk about that. Because if they get another company, we might have the same problem. So, this company luckily is moving, although I would feel better if we knew the date. But they do have until December 31st to stop using the gravel, which is why we asked about what do we do until December 31st with the noise. So I think the other part, we still need to actually revisit that. So I'll give up the mic for now, but that's your current update, more to come. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, okay, well, let me just say this real fast, okay, and then we're gonna get back to the third thing that we were asked to do, and that's what Councilmember Johnson is reporting on. But Alex is reminding me, this is totally separate, that, the city of Cincinnati and a lot of other partners have a home ownership, workshop that's free. Last year we had about 800 people there at Cintas Center. This year it's, November 22nd, it's on a Saturday. So we ask you to please go sign up, owncincy.org. There's also a youth part of it as well. There's free lunch, and it's really good. There's a whole wealth marketplace where the banks come, the county comes, the city comes, the vendors come. So it's a lot of good information, whether you own a home or you're thinking about buying one, or maybe you haven't even thought about buying one, and now is a chance to actually come in and find out resources. We're trying to increase home ownership in Cincinnati. So please spread the word, Own Cincy. We'll send information to you as well. Okay, so now Scotty Johnson with the other issue, the other challenge that came up in our Healthy Neighborhoods Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Pleasant Ridge. I want to say those that voted yesterday, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're not dotting every I and crossing every T, but we're getting there. We're getting there, and we're not going to, we don't take lightly the fact that we've been reelected to serve you. And I mean that, we've been reelected to serve you. So thank you very much, Pleasant Ridge. Those that voted for me, those that voted for the Vice Mayor, thank you very much. But I was given a homework assignment. We had a situation where it appeared that we had a pedestrian that was hit in a crosswalk, and the police did not do anything about it. The report I was given, I'm not allowed to give that out, but it's because information's on there that has not been redacted, but I can report to you on the 16th of September, we did have a pedestrian struck in 6091 Montgomery Road. That pedestrian was struck, according to the police report and witnesses, was struck while jaywalking, walking against the light, although that pedestrian was in the crosswalk. So the fact that this pedestrian was walking, allegedly, was walking against the light, according to the police report, they were in the crosswalk, but they walked against the light, they were struck by the vehicle. And when you enter the road, as a pedestrian, you're considered a unit. And the fact that they entered the road against the walk light, according to the police, I wasn't there, I'm here telling you what the police reported to me, against the light, that particular pedestrian was cited for jaywalking, although they were struck. So that's the information that was given to me. I wasn't on the scene, the officer on the scene, that's what they're reporting, but that's the information. I wanted to make sure when I get a homework assignment, I show back up and give you the information that the police department gave to me. You can be cited for walking against the light. I know most of the time you don't see anybody almost cited for jaywalking in Cincinnati anymore. You just don't see it. I'm not giving the police an out, but most of the time they don't even have the time to be writing jaywalking tickets. But when somebody struck and they were walking against the light, that's the information that was reported to me.
We're very grateful that you did your homework.
I mean, it doesn't sound like it's favorable to everybody,
Well,
but that's
it's
the
a different
information.
incident. This incident that was talked about last week was on October 8th. We'll get you more details. So you can follow up.
I'm reporting on the 16th of September.
Yeah, we'll
So
get you
do I
more
have
details.
another homework assignment to
Yeah, we'll
find
get you
out?
those details.
So
Yeah.
give me another test, and what was the date again?
October 8th.
October 8th. Send that to me and let me find out what's going on now.
We will get that to you.
Thank you.
Yep, different location, different date.
Like a block away.
No
See,
light.
see, every time I show up in Pleasant Ridge, I got homework. I went to Kennedy Elementary School when it was open up there, but I got another assignment. That's fine, Pleasant Ridge. I will let you know what happened with that. But once again, thank you for caring about this amazing city we live in. Thank you for loving Cincinnati and Pleasant Ridge, and I greatly appreciate the time to share with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. All right, so we're doing something a little bit different today. Instead of the executive committee starting with their reports, we're going to jump straight into our special items because one of them is going to be a special presentation from Yard & Co. Before that, we have Ellen from Community Heights Art Center who's going to share about Winterfest.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Ellen Muse. If I haven't met you, I'm the Executive Director at Kennedy Heights Art Center. And I'm here to extend a warm invitation and help spread the word about the 17th Annual Winterfest, the Pleasant Ridge Kennedy Heights annual celebration of the season. Just really little quick bit of history. This was before my time. Winterfest was started by a group of Kennedy Heights and Pleasant Ridge neighbors. One of them, Eric Bertelson, his wife is here tonight. And in the early days, they actually had horse-drawn carriages running down Montgomery Road. So maybe we could bring that back someday, but anyway. So it is always on the first Friday of December. This year, that is Friday, December 5th. And we have activities at both the Kennedy Heights Art Center and our annex building at the corner of Kennedy and Montgomery, where the big mural is. So we invite everyone. It's entirely free in our original building, the big old white house. We have a holiday art market with local vendors, great for holiday shopping, art by local artists. We have special holiday cocktails and wine and beer, live music, a wreath making workshop if you want to make your own live wreath with live garlands. We'll have that going on in the studio. So in that building, it's a little bit more adult focused. Definitely open to everyone, but kind of catering a little bit more for adults. And the next door in our annex, we have lots of family-friendly fun. In our performance space, lots of local school groups, neighborhood groups, some of the students from our Cincinnati Jazz Academy, as well as students from Pleasant Ridge Montessori, from Woodford Academy, John P. Parker School, and Academy of World Languages will all be performing, some choirs, some different groups, lots of free food and drink, studios open, all of the artists will be sharing and different kinds of making, go into the wood studio and learn a little bit about wood turning, hands-on art making for kids. Anyway, it's all for free. I hope you all will come. I'm going to stick around to the end of the meeting. I'll be out in the back, and I've got lots of flyers, so you can take one home. And then also, we would love to have your help. If you're interested in volunteering, please see me afterwards, and I'll get you hooked up. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jen. We will definitely keep reminding the public about that over and over again. So our next special item is, it's a big one. I was remarking earlier that I've been coming to these meetings for 3 years now, and we've had a total of 3 presentations on the screen. One per year. One was DOTD last year about the Ridge Road Repave project, which we may have another one in December. We're yet to hear back about whether or not they're going to be ready for that. And then we had one from Metro, I think the year before that, and today's started a little over a year ago. While I was vice president, one of my main concerns was making sure that the Business Association, Development Corporation, the Community Council were all working together and we were moving in the same direction, working with a bit of unity. And as I began that conversation, we found out that we have a TIF district here in Pleasant Ridge. We've explained that quite a few times. I will briefly explain. There's a district within Pleasant Ridge, which is pretty much our business district, where all of the additional property taxes for anything in that range is collected and has to be used within that district. And so it's consistently accruing money every 6 months. And we decided as a group of the 3 organizations, Community Council, Development Corporation, Business Association, we wanted to play offense, get ahead of this, be strategic. And with that, we engaged the Department of Community and Economic Development at this downtown, and then with Yard & Co., who is going to be presenting tonight, about what it would look like to do some pre-development planning on key sites within our business district. And over the course of the last 6 months, having won a grant for that work from the city, the last 6 months or so, Yard & Co. with a steering committee of those 3 different organizations, plus Yard & Co., and then community engagement. A lot of you have seen the survey. At Ridge Day, they had the live installment where you're able to talk about what kind of green space you want. We have a open public space. What do we want it to look like? A lot of you would have participated in that. So they've been doing a lot of work with that input, which they will be presenting tonight. I will say ahead of time, nothing will be decided tonight, but we do want to take a motion next month to potentially vote, likely to vote, on the overall direction of the vision they're presenting tonight. That'll be on December 2nd. Let the record show it's December 2nd. In order to measure public support for the vision that they're presenting. Like I said, nothing is being decided tonight. This is just the next step in the process, which will position us to potentially provide this framework to a development partner and say, this is what the community wants. We approve of this, please work in this direction. So this is about concepts and vision, not about, I see a picture and they're gonna do that in my community and I'm gonna get mad about it. That's not what we're doing here tonight. I wanna make that very clear. And don't fall in love with it too much because it's still not a controlling piece of work yet. There will be more site-specific opportunities for input. So each one of the sites that they talk about tonight, those will have specific sites will have extra opportunities for community input. So operationally, the way this is going to go is Yard & Co. is going to come, Joe from Yard is going to come up here and present in full their findings, the work that they've done, and then we will have public comments or questions, but those are going to be after the presentation is entirely complete, and they will need to be into the microphone so that anybody who's watching online can see that. If you are watching online later or even right now, we will be providing a link to the deck because you're not going to be able to see it very well currently. All right, so with all that said, I do want to welcome up Joe. We've had the pleasure of partnering with, and you can take that off the stand if you so choose. Also, if any of the exec team decides to move, that's okay. Neither Jesse nor Michelle have seen this deck yet, so we wanted to show the public first. So the steering committee and Yard & Co. have seen this so far. This is new for a lot of people, so if you want to move out there, feel free.
All right, it's warming up. All right, while it's warming up, I'll go ahead and give my introduction. Thanks for having me here tonight. My name is Joe Nickel. I'm with a company called Yard & Company. We're a Cincinnati-based design firm based downtown and over the Rhine. We work all over the country, so it's very exciting every time we get to serve the city that we're based in and work with a great community like that of Pleasant Ridge. A lot of my opening remarks were just given, so you got a much better table setting than I was able to give, so I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. I will say there was mention of the link to this document for the online participants. This is barely bigger than the size of when you print it, so I think everybody's going to get an opportunity to look at this after this presentation as well. So thanks for having me. It's been quite the journey since we got started. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview and then be around for discussion after. So, as was mentioned, we were engaged kind of formally around 6 months ago with funding from the city to do what was called a pre-development. It was a pre-development grant to serve as a funding source to do pre-development planning. And the reason that's relevant here is kind of primarily twofold. One is you have a handful of sites in your business district that are likely to see change in the not too distant future. They're in hands and owners, including the development corporation, who want to see growth and investment come to the business district. So the question is, what does that growth and change look like? How is it reflective of the community? How is it reflective for where we want to go? How does it add value to our everyday lives? The second element that helps kind of shape what gets built is that TIF resource that was mentioned. Pleasant Ridge is blessed to have a fairly healthy account, relatively speaking, on that regard. And the question becomes, how do we maximize the impact of that resource to not only make the development we want to see happen, but maybe just as important, make the entire district in between these specific sites hang together as one unified place, not just a development over here, a development over there, maybe an empty building in between. How do we get everything stitched together? We've talked a lot about street safety and speeding tonight, so that's a great example of how you might think about public investment stitching together those sites. So our work begins, a lot of planning firms end with a vision. And I'm going to certainly get to pretty pictures and things like that, but we like to start our work after we've done enough research and listening and analysis and walking a place with a North Star. It's pretty general, but it helps guide every decision we make as a team moving forward. And so after that research phase, we worked with the committee to put together a vision statement. Now, a lot of you have probably, how many have lived here for longer than 10 years? Great. How many less than 3 years? Great. So this is a community that people already want to live in. There's a line out the door to get into Pleasant Ridge. And it's a great place to raise family. We heard from schools today. It's got great schools. It's a place where people want to be. But we also want to make sure that it's receptive and welcoming to visitors, night, weekend guests, but also as people's life needs change or life stages change, maybe they've raised their kids and they're empty nesters now, that there's a place to stay in the community they've called home for so long. And so when we came to the vision stage of this, we really wanted to kind of harp on that fact that people come here for the life, but there's really an opportunity to stay here for a lifetime. That's it. Glad you like it. So that kind of North Star started guiding some of our initial thinking. As we tunneled deeper into the analysis, there were some recurring themes that also, kind of going beyond the vision, started to give us guidance on how to focus in this process. The first one that came out of the work was this idea about our streets. Believe it or not, if for the people that haven't been here as long, a lot of progress has been made on streets like Montgomery Road. It used to be like where airplanes would land. It was so wide. And now you've got on-street parking coming back to the curbs, not just in parts of the day, but all the time. And over time, you're going to actually see that street even narrowed down to one lane in each direction with permanent on-street parking. So that's pretty exciting kind of changes when you think about the safety, particularly of a business district where people are crossing the streets from businesses to businesses or that kind of thing. But one thing we were encouraged by or wanted to tunnel into further was this idea that people realize that what makes a great business district isn't just the streetscape that we install, but it's the actual experience of walking along the sidewalks. What do you see? What do you hear? What are the sights and smells of a business district? And a lot of that is informed not by the street infrastructure, although that's important, but the conditions of the properties, and more specifically, how those properties front that sidewalk that I'm walking down. What is the condition of that? Are there potted plants? If there are potted plants, are the plants alive? What is the condition of the awnings, the signs, the storefronts? Can I see into a business, or is it an opaque frontage that would make me feel maybe uncomfortable, or at the very least not know what's going on in that business? So the condition of the properties adjacent to the street were the second principle that we needed to focus on. The third is going back to that vision statement, that maybe there's this sentiment that Pleasant Ridge is known as being like one of the family-friendly neighborhoods, but we're more than that. And we have to work hard to grow that perception, not just within Pleasant Ridge, because you guys know who you are, but outside of Pleasant Ridge, so everybody around the city and the region knows about all the great things that you have to offer here. And so targeting our investments in helping fulfill that promise that we've made to ourselves about what this district can be. And then lastly comes full circle to the story about the realization about a year ago that to make all this work, there's got to be regular, consistent, collaborative communication between the three kind of leadership groups or community organizations, the business group, the Community Development Corporation, and the Community Council. And that if we're going to be making decisions about the next 20, 30, 40 years of our community, that those three groups have to be in regular coordination. So we'll have some recommendations on that. So how do we get to that vision? How do we get to that those principles? There were four kind of primary avenues that we took in coming to those conclusions. One is a market snapshot, understanding what's happening in the demographics and market trends in the community. The second is what we call a place audit. This is a yard and company process where we look at everything from urban design to the brand, to the identity, to the operations of a place, to the events and experiences that people can have in a place, and from that get a comprehensive picture or view into what's going on in the community. And then lastly, as mentioned, many of you were able to participate in a couple surveys that really helped flesh out some of the details. We think a lot about audience in our work, so part of that place audit is looking into, okay, who are we trying to track here that's not here yet or not here to the extent that they could be. And so we're looking at trends in where people are spending their time and money outside of Pleasant Ridge in similar communities, what that demographic is, what their disposable income is, what kind of housing they're looking for, things of that nature. And that helps us kind of visualize the customer or the end user in addition to people that are already here. Some of the highlights from that survey that underpin some of that, a lot of focus on the streets and the properties, as I mentioned before, but also wanting to grow and expand the offering from a cultural experience standpoint. The public space survey was also very insightful. This is where we really got into your minds around, okay, if you close your eyes and imagine this street or imagine a prototypical plaza or public space, what does that feel like? Is it noisy and boisterous in a party scene? Is it quiet or tranquil, or somewhere in between? Help us articulate that. And that was very useful as we started to think about specific spaces. So all of that then forms the foundation that we start looking at the specific sites that we're being asked to create a development strategy for. And so you might be asking, what are those sites? So there aren't that many, but what's cool about them is they're all clustered in a very tight geography, which means that the impact of each one of those is going to have a really positive effect on the business district. So we're looking at the parking lot, sometimes called the former BK site. We're looking at the corner of P Ridge, or of Ridge and Montgomery. There's a parking lot tucked back here that maybe some of you have parked in. It's a well-kept secret, I'm told. The pharmacy site, or sometimes we call it the triangle site, and then a warehouse which just came under control not too long ago by the Development Corporation. And then just for orientation, there's the Ridge, which was recently completed off to the left. So that factored into our thinking as well.
Not the old movie theater?
That's this site right here,
Yeah.
right next to it. That's certainly a possibility. It wasn't a core focus
Okay.
of our work. All right, so the next few slides, I'm going to walk you through each of those sites. And I'm going to jump from plan view to three-dimensional view. We do most of our work in 3 dimensions because you have to understand what the impact is on surrounding neighbors, on the street. Do I have sun and light and air, getting down to the street level like I enjoyed today? Understanding how all these pieces fit together is much easier to do in 3 dimensions than just looking at a plan view. Dirty little secret, only 25% of people can read a plan like this, including planners. You can't hide when you see it in 3 dimensions, and it's just easier and more fun to communicate and look at. So we call these early and later phase developments. This is really just trying to get a sense of sequencing. It's not hard and fast. A lot of this is driven by market, a lot of it's driven by property ownership, obviously, property owners. So kind of take that with a grain of salt, but we're generally thinking about what is a logical sequence for these sites to evolve into their next iteration. So here I'm going to change the view on you here. We're looking actually more or less south, southeast. This is Ridge right here, back toward the Norwood Lateral. This is Montgomery here, the pharmacy site's right here, Nine Giant and everything else that's we know of in the core of the business district is right here. So for the BK side, or the parking lot, what we're looking at there is mostly a multifamily residential, but with a corner retail that kind of bookends the core of the business district. Not that the business district ends there, it actually extends beyond that. But from this building's perspective, the core of the business district looking back down Montgomery, with parking behind it. Parking that could conceivably be, in some times of the day, open to public use, but obviously with a building like this, at nighttime and on the weekends, a lot of that is parking for the residents. The corner building being a 3-story or 4-story building with ground floor retail activating that corner of the site. And then this warehouse building here and the pocket park or patio next to it being also part of that phase. Then looking at the pharmacy block or the triangle site, we've broken this into 2 kind of slides just to explain how it works. But for those of you that have walked around that area, you can kind of sense that it slopes away from Montgomery down towards the UDF. And so that slope becomes our friend when thinking about how do we tuck in parking without parking becoming the dominant use that you experience in the core of the business district. And so what we're able to do there is, going back to how we might think about that TIF resource potentially, is to create a publicly available parking facility that from Montgomery you don't see, but you pop up into a building and out to the street, but you can drive in at grade on Ridge or Woodford rather, into that facility and park the car. And then on top of that deck at street level, you would see ground floor retail making up the edge of potentially a new public space at the heart of the community here. Going back to that survey, a lot of these decisions about the size and textures of that space were driven by that survey. And then multifamily above that. So before I go back to that view, I'm going to land right here where that black arrow you might be able to see is, and take a look at what that public space could feel like. So we're looking back towards that corner site at Montgomery and Ridge. This idea that there's enclosed space, meaning that I can let my kids run free without thinking that they're going to run out onto Montgomery or Ridge. Maintaining and using that existing structure out there as a corner post to this space, bringing in landscape, soft music, food and beverage in the ground floors of these buildings around it, maybe a kiosk out here that extends that sense of hospitality and welcoming out into the public space as well. We were also intrigued and felt that it was worthwhile to share a couple of other ideas for how that same kind of core idea could manifest itself under different assumptions. One of the key insights that we got from that public space survey was this word vintage kept coming up as something that people really liked. And we made the link to the pharmacy building as having this great kind of vintagey feel, and wanted to explore further, or set up the conversation to be explored further, what would happen if in one form or another we kept elements of that frontage, and then put a building inside it, around it, behind it, in a way that maintained that historic frontage on Montgomery, but gave it new life, new purpose. And so in one iteration, it actually becomes an extension of that new building as an occupied use, and kind of separates that public space into two different sides. In another, we stabilize just the stone perimeter of the building, but it actually becomes a courtyard that you can pass through as part of that public space. So just two other ideas or variants on the same thing. And then, at this point in time, we've got new parking in the triangle, permanent on-street parking along Montgomery. We can start looking at some of these surface lots and repurposing them for things like housing, particularly empty nester or housing that people are looking to get out of the big house that they raised the family in, want to stay in the district or in the neighborhood, but don't need the big unit. So here we're looking at what's called a cluster of townhouses or carriage units on Orion that fit in with the scale of the street, with single-family attached homes here, but also transition into Ridge. I mentioned the reason we do this in 3 dimensions is understanding what is the real impact of things like height and setback on the things around it. And so we want to understand that throughout the day and throughout the year. So we took 2 snapshots, summer and winter. Don't look at this one, it's just dreary anyway. There's no saving any neighborhood from the winter dreariness. But we were really happy to see as we kind of set the positions of these buildings that in the summer months at all times of the day, light is getting down to street level, both in the public space that we're recommending, but also just as important along the existing frontage north of Montgomery. And even in the winter, in the midday and the afternoon, while the public space is largely in shadow, which is okay in the winter, there's ways around that, the sun that the frontage along the northern edge of Montgomery currently enjoys will be maintained. So that's really important to us, and we were happy to see that that's how that worked out. So just in summary, we've kind of slid in our view now. We're looking down along Montgomery here. This is Ridge. Just kind of give you some highlights of how that phases and what the kind of scale of the capacity of the development would look like. All right, so it's more than just sites though, right? How does this all hang together at the end of the day? So we looked at a few supporting initiatives that the community could install and would really take the development and take it to the next level. The first is something that is a term that Yard coined a few years ago. It's become kind of a hallmark of our work, and it's this idea of the first 16 feet. This is the first 16 feet out from the building and the first 16 feet up from the sidewalk. That's an important zone to get right if you're going to have an active, safe, comfortable street experience. And so in a district like this one, the responsibility for delivering that first 16 feet isn't just one person's job. You can't have Betty or John going and just taking care of the whole district for every business owner. And so what we've divided up here is resources for property owners and businesses, and then resources that as a business community is more efficient to manage in common. Both are important to get the district right. And then on the property owner and business tool side, exploring ways to seed a fund or a grant program where business owners could make improvements to their first 16 feet as part of their commitment to the district. Of course, streets are important as well. We've identified a handful of near-term improvements that can be made in the next 18 months or so, coupling kind of behind-the-scenes design of a permanent streetscape with ways to kind of beautify and celebrate the business district through more short-term wins. And then longer term, looking first at a streetscape between Woodford and Ridge and kind of half block either direction from there. But then also continue the conversation around BRT and figuring out how to smartly land that eventually in Pleasant Ridge if and when that time does come. And so speaking of that segment of Montgomery in between Woodford and Ridge, what we're looking at here is the existing sidewalk, creating opportunities for what we call bump outs, where the sidewalk extends and shortens the distance between both sides of the street. A landscaped median, because there's no turning across on the midsection of that block. You only get a turning opportunity at either end. That allows you to pause in the middle on your way from, say, Nine Giant or another business on the north side to that public space on the south side. And, we were talking about street safety speeding before. Enforcement's great, and you guys are really fortunate to have the resources that were described today talking about enforcement, but design matters too. And so getting the dimensions of these lanes, the parking, the visibility of pedestrians and users of the street, never heard them called units before, but let's call them people, and people using the street, and a street solution like that really helps with that. Another thing that often came up in our committee meetings was parking. And so one thing that we were happy to help with, I think for the first time ever, but I could be wrong, we match your parking. And that could be a tool that can be shared with business owners that then can share that with their customers and their employees to not take up the best spots. And map the resource of what parking could look like in a built-out district, including the on-street parking for those short-term pop-in, pop-out visits, as well as day-long or longer-term parking in the off-street lots and potentially that new garage. And then to close on the operations front, I kind of gave this one away up front, but what we're recommending here is that the committee structure that was formed in part to guide this process actually becomes a formal committee and working group of the three representative bodies that have a regular meeting schedule and agenda and format to help keep up the level of collaboration around decision making and kind of guiding the process for each of those sites or guiding the process for developing infrastructure designs and things of that nature. And zoning. This is kind of like, I don't like to end with zoning, but this is where it ended up. We talked about zoning tonight and the role of zoning. One thing that the business district really benefits from is some really smart zoning, or zoning that's really geared to the vision of what we're describing here. So most of what we're talking about, with very few exceptions, if any, can be done within the existing connected communities envelope of zoning that already exists here today. There's also an urban design overlay, so that sparks the need to have more conversations about compatibility and transitions between uses and properties. But overall, from a zoning standpoint, you guys are ahead of the game and really well set up for that. So with that, I'm going to step off to the side and let you guys run the rest of the meeting, but I'm here to answer questions and be part of the conversation. Thanks for the time tonight.
Thank you so much. It's been really cool with you guys. Once you get that one back on, we're actually going to have the public who have a comment or question come to that mic, Joe, and you can come up, take this seat, and then we can pass the mic to you. That just makes it easier instead of handing this mic around to people. So if you have a question or comment, feel free to line up on that side of the room, and whoever's first can feel free to take the microphone. If there are no questions or comment, I will be very surprised, but also okay. Good.
Hello, I'm Gary Schlegel with the Gaslight Cafe, and my biggest question is, all this new development's great, but you're shrinking the parking considerably, and you're adding at least a lot more tenants and other businesses. Seems like get a strangle, it's already here.
Sure, and I can bring up the parking, because that was mentioned specifically. Appreciate the question. And I think smart phasing becomes an important part of that discussion as well. So, you're right, as surface lots become other things, that puts pressure on the surface parking inventory that's out there today. But when you map the jumping ahead to the future, when you map the full build out of parking and you total the permanent on-street parking spots, the dedicated spots in off-street locations, and the new centralized parking garage contemplated for the pharmacy or triangle site, it's a net growth in publicly available parking. Now, one could easily back yourself into a corner if you do that out of order, but I think the way that we've started to conceptualize the steps so that you're never without, you're never going down in parking, you're always kind of moving it around and having it available before the next site develops, I think starts to address that problem before it becomes one.
Well, if you're adding a lot more, 120 units, there's somewhere around there, for the Burger King, plus the one retail or two retails, you've already maxed out the parking we have right now.
Hey Gary, it's good to see you again.
Yes.
I think I've seen you 3 times in the past 7 days, which is amazing. That totally makes sense. As we adjust the purposes of the site, so for instance, BK, Muller, Hollywood, Youthland, etc., today that's serving a different purpose than what it would serve in the future. So we'll be adjusting the purposes, and then I think Joe probably has heard a lot from me on parking and to this point of how we've strategically mapped it. So overall, we believe that it will be sufficient parking, and net from now until these visions come to life, it'll be significantly more parking for the business district.
I don't see it.
Thank you for the question.
I guess my question is, someone who lives on Orion, and a lot of these build outs are happening right behind us, what scale are these buildings and how much, retail space will be taken up? And how many floors will they be? As though we'll be looking straight at them.
I love that. Hey Carol, it's good to see you. So, and I think Joe's gonna click back to this. Something that we looked at extensively with the BK site is, from a setback standpoint, what's currently there, the height of the trees, the distance of many of the backyards. And so what we think is pretty exciting is that there's actually a significant amount of space between where this building would be and then the residential homes on Orion. So great point that you're making. The trees are actually pretty tall in that space, as you know. We think a healthy buffer would be very important as well, so additional investment along the backside of the property. And then something that we're also hoping for is that from how the building is positioned along Montgomery, with the height of the trees, we don't imagine it having significant impact on those homes, but it's definitely something that we're paying attention to. We also hope, and we haven't looked at the science of this, we're hoping it provides a little bit of a sound buffer as well between Montgomery and your backyards. Today it's just an empty parking lot. Sound travels right through, so we think there could be a benefit with the sound barrier, and that it would be a net positive. I'll let Joe.
And the lot, is that the lot that's behind the apartments off of Montgomery? That really tiny lot?
Orion.
Yes. Okay, so townhomes, I just
Oh, this one
don't
right here.
easily see what can be put there in terms of more housing.
Yeah, they're actually carriage units. I'm told to move this one towards the mic, so if you want to let's go back to that view. And before I get to there, the one thing I wanted to add about the parking thing is lighting is also a really important consideration. We want to avoid light pollution from escaping the site, so there's things that are already in the city code around, nighttime night sky access and cutoffs and stuff like that, so that it avoids light spilling over into other people's property. So, back to your second question about the Orion site. This parking lot is very small. You're correct there. And so we did look at just standard townhomes, which would have about 3 homes facing the street, maybe parking garages or a garage door facing the street. We didn't love that look for Orion. And so what we put in place instead were what we call carriage units. From an ownership standpoint, they're very similar to townhouses. I have a small HOA for this little lot. I live in an attached unit. I live above my parking. But by creating this little parking court back here, we removed the parking garage front door from Orion, so we get actual front doors along Orion and maintain the 2-story scale of the street. So they're not as big as townhouses. They're closer in square footage to an apartment, actually. All right.
Also, as we grow this space, what accommodations are we taking into consideration for traffic flow as it's already crowded in city district? This is a lot of residents each year, so we're already having problems filling the ridge down the street.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's probably 2 questions in there. One is about market price points and things like that, and filling different properties. But to the first question around traffic, yeah, with density, creates traffic. There's no getting around that. So what we have to do is continuously find ways to make the traffic run smoother but slower, and particularly this stretch. And so by removing all the curb cuts here, traffic will move continuously until it gets to either end, but it won't be blocking traffic or people entering the street there. I think at these corners, from a safety standpoint, we really need to work on those bump outs and the articulation of those intersections so that people can be seen and walk safely across there. But then, bigger picture, there's a need to make sure that we're not clogging these intersections that people can get around. And unfortunately, on these 6 sites, there's only so much we can fix in terms of that, but that's part of the bigger picture that needs to be addressed.
Can I make one real quick remark? Any development that goes on has to go through the city's process in terms of traffic flow, pedestrian safety. All of those things have to be in line for it to even be approved. So all of those things would come down the line on each of these potential projects.
When we talk about green spaces, I feel like we potentially be able to consider our older youth in the area and creating safe spaces for them to hang out. And if we are taking into consideration making that part of the plan, say in terms of something like a skate park or bike scooters, anything of that nature, and something active for them, a place for them. I have young kids that will grow up and I'd like to see safer spaces for them to spend too.
Definitely love the advocacy for that. My son's 9, he's gonna be a teenager in just a few years when some of this stuff may be happening. We are taking that into consideration. That's part of the reason why we looked to get a youth committee started and have gotten one started, is to get input on those kind of projects. So, thank you. Great questions.
Thank you for all the work on this. I was really excited with the street trees on Montgomery. So most of these sites are controlled by PRDC, so we'll have influence. But the triangle is a really key piece that is currently privately owned. So what is the hope for what kind of influence we have? Are we hoping to use this just as leverage and cross our fingers, or?
Great question, Lauren. Good to see you. So I think what this document really is meant to do in this process is to align as a neighborhood and as residents on what is our vision for the neighborhood and really the business district. We have more to the neighborhood beyond our business district, like our great park, which I've heard this skate park idea a couple of times, and maybe right here in our backyard it could happen. So it's to align on our vision of when developers start moving and activating, whether it's on PRDC sites or the triangle. On the triangle, the investor of that property or owner of that property has a track record of partnering with PRDC and the neighborhood on what they bring to life, and we think the best best starting point, or a great starting point, is to be able to actually share, here's the vision of what we're wanting, here's the ways we think it can improve and enhance the neighborhood. And if that investor is wanting to access neighborhood funds, then that comes with neighborhood requests, and we want to be really clear on what those neighborhood requests are, and really casting vision, like the amazing public play space. Thank you, Joe, for putting the soundbite in there about letting your kids run loose. I definitely will let all 4 of my little ones run around there. Not today. They would quickly end up on Montgomery. But I think it really is us getting clear on our vision so that when we continue having those conversations, we can be really clear on how we represent the needs of the neighborhood. So Jason Chanley, our PRDC president, is in the audience. Anything to add that I left off? I can come to you with my mic. Sorry to put you on the spot. Now he's driving the PowerPoint. He has his own presentation. Go on road.
It's a great question. I want to highlight because it also addresses the previous question. The influence is this. So that gray box costs $15 to $20 million. The developer, and on that site, more so than that side of the ridge, whatever wants to get built there has 0 room for parking. So it must have that, and that's where the public process comes in. The private developer cannot afford that, and so that's where the partnership comes. Say, hey, come engage the community, the public resources, public infrastructure. We've seen this all over the city. I mean, probably most famously is the right word, over the last 10 years over the Rhine, Washington Park, Fountain Square, public infrastructure that then private investment gets built upon. But the foundation, literally, built environment and the process is the public component. That also is a key piece. The sequencing matters. The parking question is that kind of, I've been doing this for 15 years. All day, every day, parking comes up. For me, I'm like, hey, let's solve it once for all. Right? So whatever that looks like as a concept plan, ultimately, we're going to size that to the resources we have available, because it's expensive, but ultimately to solve the need. We're not going to go build that and spend $20 million in public TIF money and then be here 5 years from now talking about not having a parking. We're gonna do it once. We had a lot of conversations about where, but to me that it's at the centerpiece of the district with all the different traffic places, so you can get in and out a lot of different ways. And so it's big, it's ambitious. We have leadership, we have resources that are big and ambitious, and so we wanted to dream big. But this is important to me because this answers a lot of those questions. This gets us a seat at the table. Because no development of the triangle can happen without that. This lets us collectively solve that parking in aggregate. And this process, a key piece of this was to not plan for any of these in a vacuum. When the BK site came up, there was questions like, oh, that probably needs a parking garage. Well, we're going to do a parking garage. We probably only get one. Let's make sure it's in the right spot. And so this whole coordinated effort with this corridor was meant to be coordinated so that we know where those big investments can and should go, and we're all going in the same direction.
Thank you.
Hey, I think there's a lot to like here. I really am impressed that it's on the human scale. That makes me really happy. I have some process questions, kind of for you two. One, I am concerned that PRDC and Pleasant Ridge Community Council are getting a little confused. You serve on both. That to me feels a little too enmeshed. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so if you were to go over to Kennedy Heights, they have multiple people on both
Oh, no.
boards.
I want to know about.
I know, so I'm gonna explain that. That's what I'm saying. It's actually not uncommon. So when we started the process, I was VP and I was just trying to get the relationships going with PRDC and PRDA. We weren't ever really talking to each other. Like, we would highlight events if they were happening. We weren't talking to each other at least a whole lot unless we absolutely had to. Josh actually came on about a year ago to the PRDC board before running for vice president for community council when he was voted in as community council as a resident who's not just only concerned about development but also concerned about all the other issues we're dealing with, pedestrian safety and infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. I personally think, and you can speak for yourself after this, I think it's a strength that we have somebody who's on both boards, because then that keeps the transparency going. There's a consistent thread of communication. If you would have come to these meetings a year ago, the only updates that you would get about anything that's happening with PRDC is if I happen to get some information, because Jason and I were able to make time to talk. So it actually is working as a strength for us. Do you have anything to add to that?
Hello, Bill. Good to see you. Thanks for the question. Yeah, I think Jeff said it perfectly. My whole goal is to make sure that as PRDC does development, which I'm a volunteer on the board, it reflects the needs of the community. And so I'm super passionate about our residents. My work has often been in consumer research and making sure what I'm designing and working on really reflects the needs of the community. So it's primarily been driven by making sure that we are really in lockstep and aligned. As you might have seen last month, when there was a vote here at PRCC for the public vote to vote on PRDC purchasing properties, I abstained from that vote. So we keep each other in check. Our bylaws allow for it. And I actually learned recently that there have been relationships like this throughout other neighborhoods and also within Pleasant Ridge. So I appreciate the question.
I think my bigger concern then is, you guys are democratically elected, why are the women being left out? Why were they not showing this ahead of time? This is the first time you guys have mentioned that the two of you are meeting about things. We also have two democratically elected women on the board who don't seem to be included in all of this.
I appreciate the question. I didn't share the full who makes up the steering committee for this project, and there were several women on the steering committee.
I'm concerned about the other two members who, I come to every month I can, and not frequently, but occasionally, you guys talk about the things you two talk about. I'm curious why the other two members of PRCC are not included in this.
At our exec meetings, we have given several updates throughout on the progress of this project. The final presentation was not sent to the full exec committee because we wanted the full neighborhood to be shared at the same time.
Except for you two.
The same is true for the PRDC board.
Okay, I'd love to see more inclusion of everybody.
I love it.
So,
Thank you so much, Lou.
I will state there has been no intent to keep women or anyone else out of the loop on anything. I'll make that very clear.
I guess I have two just practicality questions on the projects. One is, do we have already developers outside of just PRDC lined up? Because there is going to be a private money aspect to this. Do we already have people lined up to do this? Or is the hope of with this plan to use it to go to developer A, developer B, developer C, and get them together to do the project?
Great question. It's a combination. So there are some developers we are in early discussions with that we've shared at the past several PRCC meetings that we're in early partnerships and discussing, but nothing is as formally locked, and getting the neighborhood input is a key step.
Okay. And then I guess the second question is, someone had mentioned it slightly in my previous comments. It sounds like, and again, I don't know if there's truth to it, to the common person, it seems like there's competition for getting occupancy in the residential aspect of it. How do we plan to compete with the other neighborhoods, since we know that it seems like that development in Hyde Park's going to be running, see a lot of vacancy in Madisonville. So what's kind of the hope to, how are we going to get residents to actually want to come in and move into those sites?
Do you have any stats in the back of your head about the housing shortage in Cincinnati? Or Jason, or you?
Vice Mayor Kearney shared this earlier when we connected, I think last week. I think it's 40,000 units that the city of Cincinnati is short from a housing stock. And then typically I think you heard from the Ridge team that a large building that size, it usually takes about 2 years to fully lease up. So we're expecting that Pleasant Ridge will be very competitive. If you look at the days on market for home sales, they're usually about in line or faster than the rest of Cincinnati, so we're not super concerned.
Okay.
That's a great question.
And housing stock does bring prices down, which is something that I know our community would love to see, so I definitely want to remark on that. Yeah, go ahead.
So the retail, I'm curious about, because it seems like now there's a lot of empty store frontage in Pleasant Ridge, in the business district. We've got empty storefronts in that New Ridge development. It looks like you guys are proposing lots of retail space. Who's gonna fill all this empty retail space?
I love that, and it's a great question. What we found is there's a difference between there are vacant units that are not up for lease or rent, like Mulaney's or PNC, and then there are several spaces that are up for lease or rent. I talked to Nick Pisola today in advance of this meeting and asked his permission. So Nick is representing the space that's above 9 Giant. He's representing the 2 units in the Ridge, and then he's also representing the unit behind Zakar, the new Indian restaurant. I believe he said he has, I think I listed 4 units. 3 of the 4 he is very close to having fully signed leases on. So he shared some of those concepts with me. So it sounds like he's making great progress, and that the momentum that is being seen in the neighborhood, 6100 coming down, Burger King coming down, that's been very promising to businesses as they look at the spaces. And I think the only other space that I was aware of was right across from the BP station. Jeff Wolf has a listing there. The tenant that was supposed to go in ended up having to back out, and so it just came back on the market. I imagine that'll move quickly. So great question, and I think soon we're gonna see some awesome announcements for some really cool businesses.
Maybe just to piggyback a little bit on the retail environment. Again, we started, my first meeting at Community Council was the relaunch of PRDC in 2010. That was on the other side of the recession. It got way worse before it got better. So for 5-7 years, we just had empty storefronts. So I've been in the neighborhood since 2008. Many of you have been here a long time. Retail markets, we got an expert here, ebb and flow. Food and beverage, ebb and flow. Every day in the Inquirer, I guess every month, they publish the openings and the closings. Oftentimes, right now, there's more openings than closings. It's a tough environment, particularly for food and beverage. Tariffs, inflation, everything else, costs are up. And so the way I've always looked at this is we can't control the day-to-day business operations, businesses come and go. I think for me, the Revolution, Zicker, whatever it's called, is a good example of our focus is the built environment. If we have spaces, then when the market is there, they will come back. So Revolution had their run, their time was up, whatever the reasons, that was a bummer. But now we have a new space coming because we have a physical kind of infrastructure for a restaurant. When we started, we had restaurants that wanted to come here. We had no spaces with kitchens and hoods. And so we needed the capital investment. And eventually, obviously, Amanu, that became Revolution, that now becomes Zicker. So that's 10 years, that's 3 restaurants. So there's a natural ebb and flow, especially food and beverage. Maybe Gaslight's the exception to the rule with their run. And I say the Mulaney's, which became a different Mulaney's, which became before that Dubliners, Mulaney's, and then Cafe Oma. And so for us, the capital investment. That being said, I think a key piece here. For example, this is again just concept plan, but this building at the BK site, the red represents retail. And so oftentimes, even in Madisonville, the entire frontage, the entire stretch of those buildings are all retail. So we've been really cautious to not overbuild our retail, to keep it concentrated really in that main Ridge Montgomery. Even when we were negotiating and working out the Ridge, we pushed for only the 2 end retail spots. Again, the going in, architecture planning, whatever, especially at that time was, ground floor, the whole thing needs to be retail. I don't want to send 15,000 square feet of retail down there. All it's going to do is pull away from the energy here. So we don't want nothing on the ground floor because then we're not activating that space. but really being cautious and intentional about what we have. That being said, again, if we do get something big grand here at the Triangle site, that is main and main. That's where some big high impact, regional type food and beverage opportunities that are supplemental to what we have could come. And so we don't want to underplan for that, but you can kind of see on the edges, even this corner building, the red is kind of meant to be maybe shallow. We don't want to have a blank corner, but maybe that's not a whole retail bay, maybe that's just some service or something. And so trying to be complementary is important, but ultimately for the built environment, we want to build spaces that the natural business cycle, as it ebbs and flows, they're gonna have opportunities here when the market is good. So that's kind of the strategy. That's all we can control, and then on that, go shop at our businesses. The last thing I will say, and this is where, among a variety of reasons, but the density is important. It was several years ago, maybe even before COVID. I think it was Jacob Trevino from Overlook. He kind of noted, he's like, hey, we've got all these new businesses. We're kind of eating each other's lunch, because all of us were the customers, and we'd go to him on a Tuesday, and we'd go to Gary on a Wednesday, and we'd go to the other place on a Thursday. And so part of this is for the business environment, adding to the customer base. The density creates patrons, the 125 units, the 100 some, those people are shopping at those, patronizing those places, and that creates a more vibrant and sustainable business environment. So that's where these things are kind of all interrelated.
Thank you for the extra detail there, Jason.
I'm curious about the cost of the units. Has any thought been paid to the types of renters that we're trying to attract into these units? I know that the High Park development is supposed to be high-end, and I see a lot of developments at City Hall where I work, and I feel like a lot of new high-end is coming online. Also, has any thought been paid to, affordable housing, 80% AMI, 60% AMI, 40% AMI? Yeah, because it's a neighborhood where you come and start a family, and so I'm just curious if any thought has been paid to the types of tenants we're trying to attract.
Thanks, Alex, for the question. That's great. Yes, 100%. So I think I might have shared about this last month when we were seeking to vote especially with PRDC owned and controlled sites where we are setting the table as we're bringing developers. The site at BK, we definitely want to have affordable housing as a part of that. I think the term that came up was blended communities. So all the units will look the same. There will be affordable units inside the building. So we're hoping to be able to bring that to life. Or the TIF, so tax increment financing, every time the city scrapes from the taxes that are already being collected, there's no incremental tax that was caused to Pleasant Ridge for having a TIF. Taxes already collected. Every time the taxes are collected, they set aside 25% to be used for affordable housing. And so we've looked at that pretty strategically and said, how do we use that 25%? If we're building a building here on BK, when we bring a developer to the table, we say, hey, our community cares about affordable housing. We want to have affordable built into the site. So really great question. We're definitely thinking about that, and it's very important to us.
And I'll just tell everyone, what he's describing is pretty much the best you can get. The mix where you can't even tell, there's a rich person living in one unit and there's a middle income person living down the hall. That's what we strive for. So.
Thank you for that last comment. That's something we need to talk about specifically. Did you have a comment?
Not about that.
Okay. Well, about all of this.
Yeah.
All right. So I am going to have to say this is our last one. Our meeting was supposed to end 2 minutes ago. We haven't touched on any of our committees or our executive committees. We're going to have to blaze through those. And they close at 9 here, so we do have to get out by a certain time. So this will have to be the last comment or question.
Just curious if there's any funding to improve the existing parking we have. Because we have that big lot behind Walgreens, but it's a mess, and it's poorly advertised to people that come into the Ridge. If you don't live here, you don't know it's there. And it's a fairly large parking lot.
I will give you what I know. Maybe when Bill comes up, he can answer a further question on this. we cannot find any proof that we own that lot in any way, shape, or form, or have been lent that lot. We haven't been able to find it apparently for years. If I'm wrong, Bill will correct me. But we have signage there,
Yeah.
which says that it's ours, but currently there is not funding, but we will be seeking out funding to figure out how to make that more. Yes, we have, but we can re-engage. We have definitely talked to the city about that.
There needs to be better signage, like, to get there, not
Abs-
just add it.
absolutely.
'Cause I don't think people know it's there.
Because there is signage for that little lot that they talked about for the carriage homes. There's signage. Most people have no, they just look right past it. So we've got, that is something that's definitely on our radar. When he talks about the first 16 feet, what does the feel like when you're coming through? It's not just what building's there, it's all of those things that we're trying to put in consideration with this plan.
I'm just trying to use what we already have.
Yeah,
better.
absolutely.
So-
Yeah, definitely. That was on your presentation as well. But yes, if you didn't know, you can park there. Please do. I know most people want to be closer. Also, if you live walkable distance to the business district and it's not freezing cold and icy, I highly encourage you, if you are able-bodied, to walk to the business district, and then you'll not have to deal with parking whatsoever. That's just a personal encouragement. I'm getting thumbs up from Pleasant Streets in the back. I got the pedestrian bike rider saluting them. All right, so we do need to keep moving on. This is going to go incredibly fast. Thank you, Joe, and for your team for all work. They've truly been a pleasure to work with. I can't say good enough things about the organization. So we're going to blaze through these. The only thing that I have to comment on before moving on is kind of how that pedestrian safety allocation of money will go. It still has to go to a city council vote. None of that's going to happen until the first quarter of next year, when in February the money from the taxes actually goes into that TIF account. Then it will go to city council, and from there we, as a board, along with Pleasant Streets, will come up with our list of our priorities. PRDC and PRDA will do the same, and then we will all work together because we asked for it together to then finalize those priorities. And essentially, those are the projects that we'll knock out one at a time with the money that we are allotted. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so that work's not likely to be done until probably 2027 after Ridge is done being repaved. All right, that's my only update in addition that I think is important. That moves us straight to, you said you are good? All right, and that, Michelle?
Just remember that there are events on our webpage, so hop on over to our website. You can see a calendar of everything happening in Pleasant Ridge that is fun or just educational or not fun at all to do. So
educate yourself about the events in your neighborhood. All right.
Biggest thing for me is looking forward into next year. So on the December meeting, we're going to be talking about all the expenses and what we expect to bring in for next year. So we'd love to have you as part of that conversation. We've been working with our committees to try to get a forecast on what we think is going to happen next year. That's what we're going to talk about. We just finished collecting numbers from them. Exec board is going to review everything, get it prepared so that our conversation on December 2nd with the full community can give us a better look at 2026. We won't know potentially what all of the grant availability we have is. Our biggest NSP grant, sometimes it's 7,000, sometimes it's 10,000. We won't know probably until February, but we have all of our forecasts and we're going to discuss that with the community. So join us on December 2nd for that. Do you want to go now? All right, the other thing, last event of the year, we have Jeff Cerrone here to talk about our Luminaria. It is our last fundraiser of the year in December. Jeff is the man who manages this whole thing and he's going to tell us all about it.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff. I'm with Luminaria. Thank you very much. This is Pleasant Ridge's second best fundraiser. It's all about community. So if you're not familiar with what Luminaria is, you give us $20, and for that $20, we assemble a kit that includes sand, a bag, and a candle, and you get 12 of these, and you just line them up along your property and light the bag on fire. It's great. It really looks beautiful. Everybody loves it. It's nice to walk around and see everybody. I encourage you to buy 2 or 3 of these if you like. We also have these really cool signs that give you all the information that you need, along with a little QR symbol right there. I have 5 of them. So if you live in a highly trafficked area, like, I encourage you to take it. If you don't take it. Yeah, so I understand we have 249 kits already sold. Is that true? 149? We have 49 kits sold so far. So for now. Absolutely. Oh, we drink all the time when we talk or think about this thing. So yes. All right.
I will say we've had a booming start to the year. We opened up Luminaria ordering earlier than any other year that I've been around, and we're already pushing 50 kits by November, which usually we don't even open it until November. So great start.
Right.
Come on in. Yeah, go on the QR code.
A question.
Do we order online? How does it work? I've seen it many years.
Yeah.
Out here, so.
Do you have a phone?
Yeah.
Does it have a camera? Take a picture of this, and it'll take you right to the order form. And guess what? Me or my kids or somebody I know is gonna come and drop these things off to you. So you don't have to do anything except for pour a beverage, click on this, and walk around. Yeah, light some things up there. Come for the light, stay for the light time.
There we go. Yes, with ordering, that QR code is going to take you to pleasantridge.org/luminaria. You can just type that in, it'll take you right there to where the QR code is. But if you have a credit card tonight and feel so compelled, I have a credit card reader, and I will take your payments right here, right now, and get you on the order form. So please, I'll be here all night till 9. So come visit.
So proactive, I love it. I also love that during the fall I get to be the other Jeff. Because when Jeff's here, he's in the room, like, man, it's great. I actually really do enjoy having you. I'm gonna get you to just do my notes for me from now on, because I think people will enjoy it more. All right, from there, I know we do not have anybody for our resources committee. They're ill tonight. Communications. I think so. Jackie Martin just said, hey, look at the website. There's 2 specific events. I think she even created events on Facebook for them that she wanted to highlight. I don't have the details in front of me here, so I
Chili cook-off.
Chili cook-off.
This is the next one coming up, and we need more participants for chili cook-off, so you can sign up. There's an online post on Facebook about that, and I'm sure on the website where you can sign up. And then we are still looking for participation for the Eagles tailgate party.
I will repeat both of those in the microphone. There's a Bengals tailgate, and then there is a chili cook-off, and we're looking for participants for the chili cook-off. If you think you can win, prove it. Ridge Day, Barb let us know that she does not have an update, neither does Youth Co. Brandon is not able to come. I know some people did have some questions online, and then we did receive some things about the event that the fire department talked about. That what we received was complaints about Duplex. The assumption was that Duplex hosted the event. It was not Duplex that hosted the event that caused the crazy outroar up in the streets with the police department, the fire department. That was another organization that held that event at the address that he stated. That was not a Duplex issue. If you do have any things you want to report when it comes to Duplex, please do reach out. Storing them in your pocket or complaining about them on Facebook, again, doesn't help us help you. Next, yep, it is streets. I went to the wrong spot, thank you.
Just real quick, on Ridge Road, DOT is still working on the design. They are hoping at this point to have an update to share with us early December. If that stays on track, construction should begin in the spring of 2026. Wow.
Okay. So it's designed, and then they have to have it bid out, so they actually know how much it's going to cost, and that's what they're waiting to present to us, to actually show us this is what we can do. It is a repaving project, and we are asking for additional safety features. Bill, it's your turn. First, can you let the world know if I'm wrong about Walgreens?
Yeah, we had a lawyer on council about 8, 9 years ago who went off and said, I'll find out about the parking lot, and nobody knows who owns it. It was a movie theater. There's some great stories you can hear off the old residents of it. Used to be a movie theater that apparently wanted to sell and started showing a lot of porn there, so the community bought the movie theater and knocked it down. And so we thought we owned it. We certainly use it, and Walgreens don't know who owns it either. The neighbors don't, so until someone tells us we don't own it, you own it.
I own it.
Yeah, right, there you go. For maybe you do. Yeah, go ahead.
I was around a long time ago. Actually, my father was a vice president of community council. And when Monte Vista was sold and they were going to put in Walgreens for zoning or to get the okay, they were supposed to, we don't know, or Pleasant Ridge or the city doesn't own it, but there was a back part of the lot that was supposed to be allowed to be public parking. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one. Somewhere in agreement, in the zone.
There's no agreement. It doesn't exist, so, but it doesn't not exist either. It just kind of, because there's nothing that nobody. Yeah, yeah. So hey, there's nothing there. As for the signage we have for all of these lots is the official city signage. When we called up and said, right, we need to get parking signage. They're the standard green sign that you can't see. And that's what we get. Ours have, it's a green sign with P with Pleasant Ridge on it and an arrow, and we put as many up as they give us. If you want to ask for more signs, the city will give you more signs. They'll probably be green and you probably won't be able to see them. But that's the story, right? So there's a standard sign. I'm going to talk about zoning. I kind of showed my hand a little bit earlier, but you saw it. I'm getting a little passionate about this. We've been going through this for a while with this property down there. This is not a new issue. This goes back to the 70s off and on. Same owners, same bad treatment. There are out-of-town folks who don't care about it here. I'm looking at a letter that we've put together based on the knowledge of the people who live down there, the experiences. We're going to send it to the city. We're going to send it to federal EPA, state EPA, Hamilton County EPA. We're about to unleash everything. And I'll give you a summary of what it is just to make this quick. The concerns we have are that the activities are not appropriate for the new zoning for this site or old, that there are numerous non-compliant aspects. There are activities not permitted by the code that it is. It's called commercial storage. They're not doing storage. I mean, it's a landscaping business. It's way more than what the zoning allows, but they piecemeal it. They are violating state law on storage and dispensing of flammable liquids. We've got film evidence of that. There are violations of state and federal environmental law and regulations on leakage, spillage of dangerous liquids and materials into soil whose runoff ends in community streams and rivers, plus violations on the reporting of such runoff as required by Ohio and federal EPA law. So if you work in a business in Cincinnati or wherever, you're required to report any chemical runoff, and then the people will come and investigate that. They're not doing that. As you heard earlier, they're loading and unloading fuel onto trucks on gravel, which is illegal. There is unapproved dumping of a variety of products, possibly environmentally hazardous, on land close to the edge of the subject property. And they're also going on to adjacent properties and dumping on there as well. And we know that runoff from the property is affecting the groundwater in the area because there are animals. If the pets are out in the neighbours in the gardens around there, the pets are getting sick. There's dead animals down there. This is a bad place. So that letter, and it's a lot longer than that. We're sending that out. We're going to get everyone involved the city are dragging their feet on it, and as you heard, the attitude to zoning is, well, you know, we'll just see what they want, right? That's not good enough. We need to get this fixed. We need to get the zoning so we don't get any more landscaping on these places anymore. It's not right.
Thank you for your efforts and for reactivating for the community, retired president. Hillary, were you presenting for Parks? You were next up. Just so you all know, we have 11 minutes left, so the hearing of the public is going to be quite short. I know we've already had plenty of comment about the presentations. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, I'll go super fast. So there are two really, really great volunteer conservation events this weekend. On Saturday, Friends of French Park, let me just get the times here, from 9 to 12. You go in and you remove invasive vines and bushes and things like that, and if you all ever walk through French Park, you'll see like huge openings where you can see where this work has taken place, and it's just phenomenal. So, you know, nobody's too young, nobody's too old, you can come for as long as you want. If, you know, they'll give you small jobs, they'll give you big jobs, you don't need to bring tools or anything. Just, if you love to walk through French Park, go and help preserve and maintain it. And then the other thing is on Sunday, actually, and this is something that Eric runs, and these are called Community Nature Advocates. And this will be in Kennedy Heights Park, starting at 1:30, same deal, you can stay for as long as you want. This particular event, they're going to be cleaning up the trash right along that entrance to Kennedy Park. What is that? Wilson, maybe? Robinson, yeah. And also removing some invasives as well. And at both events, if you're interested in conservation or native species, anything like that, you will learn so much. I mean, these people know so much about all these plants and all. So it's really a learning experience as well. It's not just working. You don't have to have any skills whatsoever. The people are really super nice, and it's great to give back. So if you can make either of those events, that would be great.
We will be sure to put those dates on the calendar for everybody to see as well. Mike, it is your turn. Could you lift the mic and turn it away from the speaker so we don't get any squealing? Thank you.
Sure. Okay, Mike Cummings with Beautification. Hi, everybody. Just real quick, a couple quick things. Number one, our juniper and lantana pots are about done for the season. Thank you so much to all of our volunteers who did that for the year. They look great this year. Secondly, we had our first beautification sort of committee meeting, I'll call it, last month in October. Some good things came out of that, including a plan to potentially have some organized litter pickups relative to one of our questions tonight. We are going to have someone focus on the Walgreens lot that we may own, potentially. But I think no one will care if we at least clean it up, so that might start happening too soon. And then finally, this is not official comms. I will give you something official when it becomes official, but I think we're circling after a meeting with Ruth Ann of Community Happens Here. We're going to have an event to decorate Christmas ornaments on December the 6th, ahead of the Shop Hop Day, with Community Happens Here for kids, families to come decorate ornaments that we'll hang on the juniper trees with some new lights for the holiday season. That's all. Thank you.
All right, so we've got 8 minutes left, and so if you would, this is the moment for the hearing of the public. If you have any other questions or comments, not related obviously to pre-development planning, now's your time. I do have to run it on the timer in order to keep it at 2 minutes. Going once, going twice. All right, would anyone like to make a motion to end this meeting?
Yes.
I've got seconds all over the place. Oh, our meeting minutes for last month.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Before we do that, the motion. Yeah, oh, look, we got all the people. Great. Awesome. You guys have a good night.